White ball gowns, elaborate party dresses, waltzes, and pearls, signatures of the Latino American celebration of Quinceañera and the cotillion balls of African American culture. Generations of teenage girls have been celebrated and affirmed in these time-honored passage-of-age rituals. These long-held traditions trace their cultural roots back hundreds of years. Tonight, Quinceañera and Cotillions, two cultural traditions that remain popular, but are they still relevant? Welcome to our 50th season of Basic Black. Some of you are joining us on our live broadcast, and others of you are joining us on Facebook Live. I'm Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar 89.7. Joining me tonight are Chenita Daughtry, president of the Baston chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority; Kathy Lucas, vice president of the Boston Pearl Foundation; former debutante April Effort Eugene; and Marita Palavicini, co-owner of Vilma's Boutique, a family-owned business that provides quinceañera gowns plus other special occasion goods for more than 25 years. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people are just hearing the names quinceañera and cotillion are thinking, what? So I think a little brief history is in order, really tiny history. I'll start with you, Marita.
Well, it's very exciting. The quinceañera tradition started with the Aztec, but there's a lot of for other cultures that celebrate the same traditions and rituals. It's been said also that the quinceañera tradition was started by these Spanish conquistadores that arrived to Mexico. But the tradition has been spread throughout Latin America, and it's very well celebrated, very popular nowadays here in the United States.
And just so people understand, it's when a young woman's transitioning from 14 to 15 years old.
Yes, it's they're actually celebrating their transition from childhood to womanhood. So it's a big occasion for the whole family. The girl gets to select her own gown the way she wants, at her own taste. Traditionally, it used to be called a fiesta rosa because the gown was pink. It was traditionally pink gown. And things have changed through the years. Girls want to have their own, put in their own taste. So it's more, they're more elaborate, more different colors. So it's, it's exciting. And there's a lot of components to the quinceañera too. There's the crown that they use, and it symbolizes the princess in the eyes of God, and the princess for the family.
Okay.
Another feature is the...
Well, don't tell us all of it. I just wanted to get the brief history of it, because I'm going to turn to Kathy now, and because I'd like you to give me a brief history of cotillions.
Sure. So the cotillions in the African American community are the coming out moment for that young lady to be introduced to society. It goes back to, I would say, the 20s and the 30s, they became very popular. Here in the Boston community, we've had probably about a decade of the experience here for our young ladies coming out into society. It's a situation where you're having the formal event, but it's also a preparatory event where folks are learning about culture and society, and then also skills that will help them for preparing for college.
Now, there's not a formal age line, or is there?
So for us in our Boston area, we use sophomores to seniors.
What age? Tell
So that's what, 15
okay.
to 17?
So a little older than the quinceañera girls.
A little bit older.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the question on the table, though, because, all of these rituals and traditions have been around, as you've explained, centuries, really, and adapted here in America, and as a way of making sure that there was a unique expression from these communities, Latino American and African American. But the relevancy is something that some people might say, well, this is all nice, but okay, these are modern girls now, they're in the technology era. Why is this still relevant, Chenita?
So, as they said before, it started back in the English times when the kings and queens had young girls that were of marrying age. Right now, it's not that at all, because young women are being married later in life. And so for the African American community, it's just kind of a transition into womanhood. It marks them coming of age. It's almost like a rites of passage for them. And so
why is that relevant, though? There could be many other kinds of rites of passage.
Well, it's big for the community. It's something where all of your family and friends can come together. In the times we live in, it's something that we can celebrate. It also teaches them, prepares them for that transition that they make to college. We have etiquette lessons, we have financial lessons, we have college prep sessions. We take them to museums, plays, and things like that. So,
not just today.
Not just today.
So now, it's not just a day, is what I'm saying.
Not just a day.
Yes.
It's a 6-month-long program for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, is there a difference in the African American community with the Cotillions than there would be in a traditionally debutante ball among white Americans?
Well, nowadays, the Cotillions in the African American community it's mostly about raising money for charity or cause. The girls, our particular girls, they raise money, and as part of that money, we give them as a scholarship, and we raise money for scholarships for the community and programs. So in addition to this being a coming out ceremony, it's also an opportunity for us to raise funds for a particular cause.
So why did you decide to be a debutante?
Well, I hope it was my decision, but at the time I was so excited. I think about wearing the dress and having,
Yes.
a good time. I have Judy Davenport from the Pittsburgh Jack and Jill chapter to thank. It's actually a story of exclusion where she, in the early 1980s, wanted her daughter to participate in, a cotillion, but it was, white. It didn't say white only, but it was pretty clearly that they were discriminating, and she couldn't participate with her daughter. So she said, well, we're going to start our own. And she really grew it into just a really beautiful and wonderful affair with, a 6-month lead up in programming where you learn the etiquette, which I think makes a difference. You learn how to write a handwritten thank you note. I think that helps you stand out when you're applying for a job.
Absolutely.
Being able to say please and thank you and appreciate culture. So I go on a Japanese business trip. I appreciate how they do things, and wow, you took the time to think about that and look that up about, how to eat and carry on in another culture. So it teaches you the importance of culture and etiquette. So we had all of that leading up to it, and then the special night of wearing the beautiful dress and dancing with your father and being with your friends and your family and community and being affirmed and celebrated. So you don't appreciate that when you're 16 or 18. You want to, just enjoy the night. But over time, you look back and think, wow, I'm so glad I did that.
So Marita, back to you, because I want you to describe the traditions of quinceañera, but there's a piece of it that's religious actually, whereas cotillions not, but there is a piece of that.
Yeah, in the Latin community, there's a big devotion to their religion. So part of the ceremony includes having a mass before the huge reception, and during the mass, the crown is placed on the girl. Again showing her respect to God, that she's princess in front of God. She may be giving a pendant or a ring that has been blessed by the priest as a remembrance of the occasion. And after that takes place, they go to the ceremony, and there are certain things that take place. For instance, when they first come in, there's a court of honor, which is 14 boys and 14 girls. It's called the court of honor, the damas en chambelanes. And they consist of their friends or family that they're close to her, that she picks for her party. In addition to that, godparents, and these godparents may help with the paying of the reception, the goods, because a quinceañera nowadays, it's like a wedding. You're practically paying for a wedding. It's very expensive.
What do you mean when you say very expensive? Like, give me a range.
Well, it's expensive because the dress could cost more than $450. There are new styles coming out nowadays that cost more than $1,000.
Oh, wow.
The reception itself, the family. People want to invite their friends, and there are large families, and the decorations of the halls and everything. They want everything to be perfect, so they do spend a lot of money. And
How much is the dress that you brought?
this one
we're
will
saying.
cost about $700, $800.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Just to give us a rate, good
Exactly,
sense.
and
Yes.
this is a very simple dress. I mean, we have some with more elaborate designs, but I brought this dress because it represents the the first traditional dresses of quinceañera when they were like the fiesta de rosas, the rose, the
Princess
rose
pink.
parties. Yes, yes. And as a matter of fact, the pink color is coming back into fashion. There are more girls asking for pastel colors like pink and lavender and peach, whereas before they were looking for more darker colors, coral and red and royal blue and things like that. So things change throughout time.
Marita, one of the traditions I think is so charming and so illustrative of this tradition is the shoes, the changing of the shoes. Please explain.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all the symbolism of the girl changing from childhood to adulthood, and that happens during the reception. The father, before dancing the waltz with the girl, he would change the girls. She will either wear flats, slippers, or the girls nowadays wear sneakers and decorate them with pearls and everything. They're very elaborate. So they changed the father during the ceremony. They changed the girls' shoes to high heels, and at that point, that's when he takes her to the middle of the floor and they start the first dance, the father and daughter dance. I get chills. The waltz, and it's so beautiful. And towards there's sometimes during the ceremony, the rest of the court of honor joins in and dances.
So here's the thing. As you all have explained it, it seems very warm. It's definitely affirming of young girls.
Yes.
And I wonder if you would all speak to why it is necessary, if you believe that to be, or important, that young girls of color be affirmed in this moment, at this time. I'll start with you.
Well, I think it's both for girls and young men, as particularly in the time that we're living in, where I think there are kind of macro and microaggressions against our self-esteem, that our young people deserve to be celebrated too. And different cultures have different ways of doing that. You have the bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras. So I think as an African American community, we want to send the message that we're proud of our young people and they deserve to be celebrated too.
What do you say?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, my mom was a debutante. My mom came from a family of 10 where her parents couldn't necessarily afford it, but she was sponsored by a school teacher who took her through the process. And I think it's the same today, whereas, the ability to have someone spend time with you, help you get prepared for the rest of the world or the rest of your life. And we call it precious pearls. I think it's kind of like that polishing of the pearls. So yeah, anyone can go to college, but I think sometimes we need to make sure that we're really prepared, and these programs help our young ladies and our escorts, the gentlemen that are bringing them into the event, with that by providing the education, the learning, the mentorship that allows them to be self-confident. And I think that's what really allows this tradition to carry on and still be relevant.
Yeah, so I agree with Kathy with the mentor piece. It's an opportunity for our young adults to be in an environment that's warm and loving and supportive, as opposed to some of the schools they're facing bullying and racism and things like that. So for us to have these programs, this cotillion, it's an opportunity for them to just be and meet other young women and young men that are similar to them, and so they can feel supported, and that support and confidence can carry them on for the rest of their lives.
Let me circle back to you about your mother being supported financially. I mean, because it's expensive. Marita has described how expensive it is. Why don't you give a sense of how expensive it is for cotillion?
So, for us, it's the dress, it's the event, it's the fundraising, it's the activities. And we like to be inclusive, not exclusive. So with that said, we have occasions where we have young ladies and gentlemen that are escorts that are interested, and sometimes their parents don't have the financial ability to cover all the cost of a program like this. But we're strong. We have a good group of women in our organization that are willing to support them financially, whether it's paying for the dress or paying for the program, doing fundraising for the young ladies. The fundraising is important because a significant portion goes towards their scholarships.
Well, give me a sense of how expensive. You said expensive. What do we mean?
I would say when you think about a dress, our dresses are probably less than a quinceañera. It's about $100 to $150, and we work with them to try to make sure that they understand it's not so much about how much we spend for the dress, but how the dress makes you feel. So we've partnered in the past with David's Bridals, who allows us to get a discount for the bulk of the dress, and the program cost. I would say. Families are probably looking to put aside anywhere from $600 to $800 for a program like this, and that's expensive. And for those families that have the ability to do it with no questions asked, that's great. But for the young ladies who are really interested in this program, again, we want to make it so that if you're interested, we will find that way for you to be a part of it.
So is a tradition that's so rooted in the culture really, do you think, integral to something that a young girl should have as she transitions to womanhood? Because I'm trying to think of other examples of organizations that young women can be a part of. Certainly there's Girl Scouts. That's, offers a different kind of leadership experience. And there are some other organizations, social organizations that African Americans have, like Jack and Jill, which certainly have. And in fact, you became a debutante out because of a Jack and Jill chapter. So, so sometimes these missions are alive.
Right.
But but the traditions themselves, the cotillions, the quinceañera, stay strong because. Why? I'm really wanting you all to make the case for the relevancy today.
I think it's very relevant. When you talk to people who have gone through the experience, they can be 40s, 50s, 60 years old. They look back on it with fond memories. It's the bonding that they get with the other girls who go through the program with them. It's the rehearsals that they go through with their escorts. It's all the learning that they get, the etiquette training that carries you through work and everything. It's just the bonding. I think it's more so the nurturing environment. You can get that from other programs, but the day of the ball, when you're dressed up and you see your family and your friends there, I think it's just a special time. It's almost like a wedding because you're all dressed up. And where else, sometimes it might be the only time you get to wear the white gown and be in front of family and friends, and people look back on it with fond memories. So I think it's here to stay. We have people that ask us, when is the next cotillion? They're always interested in it. And I think the tradition survives because of parents who have participated. They want that experience for their kids. So
I would say
that's
I
what
want to have my
happened.
daughter. Our church does one too, GEMS, Jubilee Christian Church. So I think to the point about being inclusive, so there's lots of different forms it can take, different social organizations can do it and do it differently, but just to having, again, that experience of affirmation with your family. And I think me personally, I had grown up with these friends, and so for us to grow up together and then experience this is kind of the culmination of that. Was very, very special. And so I would just agree that it stays with you, the memory itself, along with the skills, like you said, of etiquette, being polite. And I think politeness in our society, is being undervalued. And I worry that that's a tradition that's not being passed on, saying please and thank you.
Right.
So I think we definitely need this
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Well, and I think also in terms of why those traditions are retained is because it's a little girl's dream always to dress up like a princess, and that one opportunity when they're still young and they're transitioning to womanhood that they can wear a gown like that. I mean, I mean, when could you have that opportunity,
Right.
you know, to wear a gown like that? And people lavish you with gifts, and you're the center of attention. And but I think it's important too, because I think the girl also, they're teenagers, they're still young women, but I think they somehow acknowledge the change that they're going through. They're no longer girls. You know, that doll represents that's their last doll. They're no longer little girls. They're now women. They're young adults. They have to start acting a certain way. And I think what you point out about what Cotillions do, I think it's great, because I mean, I think etiquette, I mean, it's not something, I think it's done in Quinceañeras. I mean, we do teach them how to dance, how to stand. But I think there's something very important. I think that maybe could be incorporated. I mean, in my store, we tell girls, you know, stand up straight, you know, look beautiful, and you know, certain things. But I mean, and I think Cotillion, giving them those manners. I mean, it's something that's missing out nowadays. Like you said, thank you, writing handwritten notes, invitations. I mean, people really appreciate the fact that you took time to do that.
Right.
One of the things, the core of both of these programs is family,
Yes.
which I think sometimes gets overlooked. And I was thinking that perhaps in a situation where both of our communities are often, the tension against having a cohesive family is great from the outside. There's so much pulling, so much stereotyping about the strength and the love of our families, that this seems like a way to say, no, and not just to the outside world, who cares, but really to the young girls, that's not who we are. Because see, here's your family, we're here tonight.
Right.
Would you agree?
And I would definitely agree. One of the things that I thought about is that, you know, not only just during the event, so with the family at the event, the parents are escorting the young lady down. They're passing her on. The father is having that father-daughter dance. So throughout the program, you prepare for that. So it's like, you know, when the daughter or the child is going for their etiquette lessons, there's also dance lessons for the father-daughter waltz. You're getting the opportunity to have those wonderful moments where you're stepping on each other's toes, and you're learning how to do these things together as a family. You know, when the mother, you know, passes the daughter the rose to signify, you know, you're moving on. We have a mother-daughter tea where we pass the pearls. You know, the pearls go from the mom to the daughter, signifying the next stage of life. So there's so many little elements that when you look back over time, you know, you capture those thoughts, those moments, those memories. And again, you know, you feel so compelled to want to give them to your child. And if you don't have children, you want to be a part of it with your niece. We have a lot of women who have their nieces or their goddaughters, they just want to be a part of it because it just feels so community-based, like we said.
Yeah.
Family so important.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And in other cases, you know, family pitch in for the celebration. So family
Yes.
is very important.
Yeah, this year I had the opportunity, my daughter went through the DEB
Right.
program, and so that was a very, very special time to get to, I've always been on the other side where I've chaired the event, and, you know, but this time as a parent to see firsthand what the parents go through is a whole different story. So it was very special to go through that.
Do you ever see a time when some of the traditions will change, or will they, some of the ritual pieces of the tradition will change according to the times? Or is that what makes it special, that you, no matter what age we're in, we're gonna do these things?
I think because there are a lot of Latin American countries, you know, which are the same language but different cultures throughout Latin America. So different Latin American countries have different customs for quinceañera. Like in Colombia is one of those countries in which they have candles. They light 14 candles. 14 candles. Then there's one last one, the 15 candles. And that represents 1 year, you know, of the little girl's life. And that's not something that other Latin American countries have. So
So a little bit of an adaptation.
exactly, but I mean, now you have different cultures. They're friends. I mean, they have Americans, African Americans, or different Spanish cultures coming to these parties, and they say, "Oh, that's nice. I don't have that," or "Can I have instead of a 16, you know, plain? Can I wear a ball gown?" And so there's this meshing of cultures that's taking place, and I think it's beautiful because I mean that's what makes this country great, is that we have so many different cultures to learn from, and that you can't come across people like this in another country.
Are the numbers going up for participants?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Oh yes, yeah. It's always very popular. Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
One of the other things that's changed over time is the waltz. So in the past, we had a traditional waltz. Nowadays, it's a little more, yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so
Okay.
we keep the
Yeah.
tradition, but we enhance it to make it a little more modernized for the young ladies today.
Okay. This is a fun conversation to have because I'm imagining that father and daughter dance today, and I know that it's much different from what I saw before when I attended some cotillions in very formal. But even in those formal gowns, you can do a different thing.
Oh yes,
Yes,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can do that.
Though they're
with-
heavy,
with
yeah,
those-
you can do
with those-
everything.
Right, exactly. All right, well, we're going to leave it right here for this end of the broadcast. And I want to thank all of you for joining us and sharing about these great traditions. But the rest of you can stay with us right now as we continue our conversation on Facebook Live.